Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today at the Water for Life conference. I've been to Portugal 3 times in the last 7 years, and I'm disappointed that it was not possible for a 4th visit to enjoy the conference, festivities, the food, and the wine. I would like to talk to you about single-use plastics that can end up in wastewater treatment plants and reuse applications. The microplastics can pass through the wastewater treatment plant or end up in biosolids. Microplastics and biosolids can be applied on farm fields and have the potential to be carried away from farm fields during rain events into rivers, lakes, and eventually the oceans. Microfibers dominate the microplastic particles in fresh water. They're about 60%. Also in salt water, where they're about 59%. In freshwater sediment, where they are about 52% of the microfibers. In saltwater sediment, where they're about 78% of the microfibers. And in soil, where they're about 30% of the microfibers. Sources of microfibers can come from our clothes or plastic materials in wipes. Different bacteria can thrive in different environments, and change can be influenced by our actions. As an example, in London, Canada, we had hydrogen sulfide odors coming out of the sewer at turbulent points in the sewer collection system. The addition of caustic to the sanitary sewer was used to raise the pH, and this application was thought to wipe out bacteria causing the hydrogen sulfide. The trial showed that caustic addition could decrease hydrogen sulfide odors for 2 to 3 weeks. Over a period of 2 years, the effectiveness of the caustic addition went from 2 to 3 weeks to less than 2 days. What happened? We promoted the growth of less than 0.1% of the bacteria that could survive in biofilms in the pipe to be dominant bacteria. The 0.1% would make up 1,000 colonies, and this would increase over time due to the removal of competition and a continued source of nutrient. Another example about bacteria survival is when nitrate was added to the sewer system to promote the growth of bacteria that would preferentially use nitrate instead of sulfate, and in this way the hydrogen sulfide levels decreased and nitrogen gas was generated instead of hydrogen sulfide. These are 2 examples that show that we can influence the bacteria in an ecosystem. Think of it as gas in your car. If you run out of gas, then it would take a lot longer to get to your destination, particularly if you had to push your car. Now, if we compare this to cyanobacteria, they need less nitrogen. If you think about your car scenario, the car for cyanobacteria would need less gas, and it would have solar panels to get to the destination market and consume all the food. In the marine environment, this would mean that they would thrive and other bacteria would not be able to compete with them. In the oceans, inert dissolved nitrogen is more than 95% of the nitrogen and is not available to most organisms. Reactive nitrogen, such as nitrate, ammonia, and dissolved organic compounds, are accessible but are a small portion of the nitrogen in the ocean. The median for carbon to nitrogen ratios is 6, and this would mean that for every 100 grams of carbon, you would need 16 grams of nitrogen for growth. Environmental friendly wipes are now a 22 billion global market. People want an environmental sustainable product, be flushable and biodegradable. In 2019, North America non-woven capacity increased to 5.479 million tons, and the market is expanding into other countries such as China and Brazil. Could this be an example of our influence on our marine ecosystem? The dominant phytoplankton in the first 3 billion years of marine life was cyanobacteria. Flexibility was how cyanobacteria flourished, even in the face of nutrient limitation in the billions of years of Earth's history. Algae and cyanobacteria have a flexibility in their nitrogen to phosphorus ratio ranging from 5 to 1 to 100 to 1 in culture, depending on which nutrient was limiting. Consensus is that the marine environment is nitrogen limiting. There's a cool program called Argobis, A-R-G-O-B-I-S, on the internet where you can find temperature, dissolved oxygen, and nitrate levels in the marine environment all around the world and at depths up to 3,800 meters. It's like climbing Mount Fuji in Japan from your home. Real-time data from Argobis is converted from micromoles per liter to milligrams in the graphs of temperature, dissolved oxygen, and nitrate level. The data for October 25, 2020 in the Indian Ocean at a depth of 10 meters had a temperature of 21 degrees Celsius. Dissolved oxygen was 7 milligrams per liter and nitrate was less than 0.1 milligram per liter. Nitrate levels rose to 0.1 milligrams per liter at a depth of 100 meters. At this location, nitrogen would be a limiting nutrient, but temperature and dissolved oxygen would be favorable, but bacterial growth would be diminished. The Arctic and Antarctic locations show similar results for nitrate ranging from 1.8 to 2.2 milligrams per liter. Temperatures were less than 3 degrees C and dissolved oxygen was greater than 5 milligrams per liter. Temperature would be a factor for limiting bacterial growth rate. Current standards do not take into consideration the limiting level of nitrogen in the marine environment. A study on biodegradation on, quote, biodegradable plastic with marine water without nutrients additives had biodegradation times exceeding over a year. Bacteria living on plastic in the marine environment are more diverse and thriving as compared to bacteria in their surrounding water. Microplastics are transported over long distances and are found throughout the ocean. Microplastics provide a high surface area and are quickly covered by inorganic and organic materials, which provides carbon and nutrients for the biofilm formation. The organisms on microfibers have been found to be different from the microorganisms in surrounding water or on particles. Studies indicate that cyanobacteria were more abundant on plastic compared to free-living and on organic particulate in the surrounding marine environment. Cyanobacteria and algae could become dominant again by outcompeting other bacteria in the ocean. Nitrogen levels decrease. The increasing volumes of plastic in the marine environment could have disastrous impacts for mankind that rely on the ocean for food. If cyanobacteria were to thrive, it could poison the food chain and wipe out the treasures of the ocean we now know. The performance approval of products being marine degradable are suspect due to the deficiencies of the methods being relied upon. The time frame for biodegradation is much longer than the current testing methods would interpolate. Testing methods should reflect actual conditions in the ocean. Sustainable environment is a shared responsibility for people, companies, and governments. Protection of the marine environment is a shared responsibility by people from all around the world. This shared responsibility needs you to look at what you do to prevent the changes that would impact the ocean for more generations than we could fathom. We need to ask ourselves, do we need the single-use plastics at a cost of the ocean life we now have? Thank you for your consideration.